What's up guys, it's me Jeremy and welcome to my guide on the Ezreal Taric bot lane duo. They are a very solid lane that is also pretty fun, so I decided to make a guide for them. This guide will be focused on playstyle and tips and tricks. And I'm sorry, but I won't be giving any tips for runes, masteries, item builds, or summoner spells in this guide, as I believe that those are all really just personal preference. I will however link you to some pro guides in the description that can show you these things for those who want it. Now let's jump right into the pros and cons of this duo. Starting off with the pros of Ezreal Taric. The first is that they have a lot of damage. Taric's W and Ezreal's Q will give them a lot of damage in fights, not to mention that they can poke very well by having Taric stun someone, doing some damage, and then backing off. The next pro is that they have good sustain in Taric's heal. This, in coordination with their damage, makes their trading potential phenomenal. The last pro I came up with is that they are a very high utility lane. Taric gets very tanky and has a very solid CC spell in his stun, while Ezreal has very high mobility. This makes the lane very good in straight up fights, and very hard to play against, so it's a pretty strong lane in solo queue. Moving on to the cons of Ezreal Taric. The first con is that Ezreal is a skill shot champion. If you can dodge or block his Qs, it is ridiculously easy to outdamage him in lane, and to win a fight. The next con is that both laners somewhat have mana issues, especially Taric. If you can outlast them until they run out of mana, then they will be pretty much useless and it will be easy to kill them. The last con I came up with is that Taric's stun has a very long cooldown. This means that if you can bait it out and make him waste his stun, you have a whole 10 seconds or so where you are free to pressure them. Now let's go over the good matchups of Ezreal Taric, and what you should pick them against. This combo will do well against pretty much any AD carry, except for Sivir, Tristana, and Corki. I would recommend picking Taric against Graves just so that they won't be able to pick Taric Graves, as that is a very strong lane combo. However, this combo will pretty much destroy any low mobility carry, as long as you can trade correctly. Miss Fortune, Twitch, Varus, Draven, Kog'Maw, Ashe, and Urgot are all great ADs to be playing against, since you can just poke them down. Support matchups are of course much more skill based, but you will in general do very well against squishy supports, but I would play this combo against pretty much any support except for Alistar, because he is tankier than you and has more CC. Against Zyra or Lux because they outrange and outpoke you, or against Nunu because he is somewhat tanky and his buffs and debuffs coupled with his ultimate will be able to beat you in straight up fights. A few supports that are great matchups for this lane are Sona, Lulu, Janna, Soraka, Fiddlesticks, and Blitzcrank. For all the supports excluding Blitzcrank, this combo is a good pick against them because it is easy to burst them down. I would play this matchup against Blitzcrank because Ezreal can cancel every single hook he is hit by, and Taric is tanky enough to where if you get pulled, you can just stun the enemy AD and you can probably just kill him, and then kill Blitzcrank right after. Now for some advice on how to play this combo. Winning your lane is very important for Ezreal and Taric. Remember that during your lane phase, your damage will be very high. As Ezreal, try to poke often, and as Taric you want to wait for a situation where one of your opponents gets caught, and then stun them and burst them down. As Taric, a big part of winning your lane is simply just waiting for your opponents to even make just a tiny mistake, and then immediately capitalizing on that mistake by killing them. You can also use your stun to help Ezreal poke and heal up for some easily won trades. Just be careful to not waste your stun on the enemy support. Lastly, you need to be careful during fights near creeps, so that Ezreal's Q doesn't get blocked. During the teamfight phase, you want to have Taric protect your carries, while Ezreal does pretty much as much damage as possible without dying. As Taric, your damage is not enough to kill enemy carries, so it is better to just use your stun on those enemy carries and then protect Ezreal or whoever is more fed on your team. I've got a couple of tips and tricks that I picked up while playing this combo. As Ezreal, since you max Q now because of the W nerfs, remember that it is very easy to hit this Q onto supports that love staying in the bush. Just have Taric plop a ward into that bush, and it should be easy to get free damage onto them. Also, as Taric, remember that your W gives armor, while it also shreds armor. What you can actually do in a fight is let your opponents use your abilities on you, absorbing a lot of the damage because of your armor buff, while after, you then use your W and your abilities for maximum tankiness and maximum damage. Also, since Taric's ultimate gives AD and AP, this will greatly increase Ezreal's damage output, so you want to ult early before Ezreal uses most of his skills, if you are going to fight. Lastly, as Taric, if you are getting poked down a lot, you can auto attack creeps and lower the cooldown on your heal. This also works great in teamfights. If you auto attack at say a 0.5 ratio, which is likely considering that you'll be kited around a bit, and will spend more focus towards helping your carry, coupled with say around 15% CDR, and a level 4 heal, which is pretty likely at the teamfight phase, and your heal will be on about a 7-second cooldown. If you buy Zeke's or other CDR items, this will likely be lowered much more. This makes you ridiculously tanky in teamfights, so use this to your advantage by tanking like a boss. Alright, lastly, let's go over Ezreal and Taric's counterplay mechanics and how to avoid them. Starting with Taric. I simply cannot stress this enough. If you waste your stun as Taric, all of your lane pressure is removed, unless they are at low HP, and then you become very, very vulnerable for about 10 seconds. This leaves a lot of counterplay ability open if you can bait the stun and then fight. To avoid this counterplay mechanic as Taric, you want to pretty much never stun the enemy support, unless you're going to burst them down instantly. Another counterplay mechanic against Taric is that you can block his stun with spell shields. For the love of all that is solo queue elo, do not ever pick Taric against Sivir if you can avoid it. It can also be blocked by, for example, Nocturne's Shield, Banshee's Veil, or even just Cleanse or QSS. Against these shields, you need to bait out the shield or cleanse first, and then use your stun when they are vulnerable. One con for Ezreal is that he can be bursted down by high DPS carries if you waste your Arcane Shift. Just don't get baited into wasting it, and even use it to dodge skill shots if you can. The only other major con for Ezreal is that his damage kind of relies on hitting your skill shots. Be sure to fight in places where your Qs cannot be blocked by creeps, as well as be sure to hit your ultimate. Watch out for pro supports that are good at blocking your Qs. You may just need to focus them instead, because you will have no path to fully DPS the enemy carry. Lastly, as a duo, it can be kind of easy to get baited into bad fights. Just be careful in your positioning and be sure to communicate and ward well, and you'll be just fine. So, that's it for my guide on the Taric Ezreal combo. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.